We talked a lot today about expectations that I have in my classroom. And one of the biggest expectations, I'm actually going to see if any of my kids here can tell me, what is the biggest expectation that I have of you guys? Try. All I ask for is that they try. Even if they try and fail, they're at least showing me that they're willing to put in that effort, that they want to learn it. And we talked about trying and failing and making mistakes and how we learn from our mistakes. It's always okay to try, fail, make mistakes. It's not okay to sit and be a bump on the block and think that we're going to learn through being a bystander. So we talked about how, if they ask me a question, I will ask a question back. Please understand that when they say, I don't know what to do, I will tell them, what do you think you do? And they will come home and they say, well, she said, what do you think you do? I swear that's not the way it was said. I know that, sometimes when you're frustrated, things can be taken that way. Please know that I want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what their line of thought is so I can help them either keep going, because a lot of times students just need that encouragement to continue on with their process. A lot of times they tell me, I don't know what to do. And I say, okay, well, what do you think you do? And they give me an answer and they're perfectly 100% correct. And they're like, oh, okay, and they go through and do the whole problem by themselves. It's a wonderful thing. Once we get that confidence going, then when it happens that, they say, well, I think I do this. Okay, well, what if we looked at it this way? So they will always get that help and that guidance, but I want it to be helping, guiding, and not doing it for them. And that is a big change coming in from elementary school, where not that the teachers would do it for them, but it's a different setting. It's a definite mind shift. So we really want to start turning these kids into thinkers and problem solvers. You'll often hear when we talk about word problems, if you get to listen to my lovely voice, we'll talk about write it out. Write is one of the acronyms we use when we talk about a close reading strategy. So we read the problem and highlight the question. We identify important information, draw a picture and determine a plan of action, and then evaluate or execute. Your child will have this in his or her binder, and it'll always be there to remind them, and there's also a poster in my classroom that says write it out. And it's something that actually we're starting to adopt in the science curriculum and in other curriculums as well, so that way whenever students are getting stuck, we can just look at them and say, write it out. And now they have this thought process to go through of how to become a critical thinker and a problem solver. With 6th grade math, I know that in middle school, everybody has heard the dirty words Common Core. I want you to understand, Common Core is not as horrible as it may seem. It's not a matter of teaching the children new math. It looks different. When I started looking at it, I thought these people were crazy and why are we doing all this? Why are we throwing this craziness at them? When I dug into it a little bit more, especially at the middle school level, they talk about applying it. And they talk about, okay, when we talk about math, we look at things in terms of tens. And we think, okay, if I paid 70 cents, I know 10, they get to 10, 7 and 3 are 10, so I should get 30 cents back. It's the process of getting students to think like that. So the weird, crazy math you're seeing is actually what we typically will do in our heads. We're trying to help them understand that so they can use the tricks, so they can use the shortcuts. But you can't use the tricks and the shortcuts if you don't understand the math in the first place. So if I hand a word problem out, if I've taught them all these tricks and these shortcuts, they're not going to do the students any good if they can't look at the problem and figure out what it is that they need to do. It will be painful. Right? This adjustment is more often than not tough. A little painful because not only are they coming into middle school, and I'm sure this has been a whirlwind experience the last 2 days, but they're also going into block scheduling and now into a flipped classroom and into not just add, subtract, multiply, divide. We're asking them to look at a problem and figure out how am I going to use all those things and use them with fractions, use them with decimals. How am I going to apply it to everyday life? I promise you, we will get your child there. My goal, like I told your children, my goal is not to make them them love math. I'm not crazy and thinking everybody in the world thinks like I do and numbers and they're wonderful and they make sense. My goal is to make sure that when they leave middle school math, that they're able to apply the concepts that we've learned and use them in everyday life. I know they will go on to do geometry, trig, algebra 2, pre-calc. As a math teacher, I will say it's going to be hard for a teacher to justify where you are going to see that in everyday life. That's why I'm glad I teach 6th and 7th grade, because I can totally justify decimals, ratios, fractions, till the cows come home. So our goal is to make sure that when they leave, they're able to use all of these foundational skills and bring them out into the real world, not just have a piece of paper put in front of them and spit back an answer. So, having said all that, you'll notice I talk a lot, especially when I get nervous, so I'm going to apologize for that right now. Okay, you can go. All right. Let me set it here. All right. Start recording. Welcome. I guess I already did that in the beginning part. Let's see how this goes. We're going to talk about all the stuff with 6th grade math. We're going to talk about the flipped classroom. We're going to talk about Go Math, which is our curriculum that we use for math. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Compass Learning, which is an online resource that the district uses that we'll be using with the students. I'm also going to touch base on standards-based grading. Please know that standards-based grading is in its infancy with RUSD, so there's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way. I will do my best to keep you informed and to make sure that you all understand to the best of my abilities how this is going to work. I have not yet seen how it's going to be put into our grade book, so I don't want to give you a bunch of information and then all of a sudden be like, oh, just kidding, this is going to be completely different. So if you have questions, please, please, please call me, email me, let me know. I'd much rather you ask and we get answers out there, or I get answers for you from somebody if I don't know the answer. All right, so the flipped classroom, what is it and what will this look like in our classroom? So the flipped classroom, we talked about it with the students, is we're literally flipping what the children do at school and at home. There's no more lecturing at class or in class. It's going to happen at home. And it's going to happen, it's going to be me. So you're going to get to hear this lovely voice day in and day out. And I told the kids, you'll probably hear some of my little ones because I have to record at home sometimes. Sometimes it's a nice little break and everything for them to hear some craziness going on. But all in all, they will be able to listen to the lecture at home. They can pause, they can rewind, they can fast forward. There are so many ways to engage with the lesson that it really allows students to go at their own pace. So when we talk about pacing, I'm really sorry, I know I'm standing right in front of you, but I can't go too far with the microphone. With pacing, we talked about in class today. If you're working through a problem and you look at it and go, I just don't understand what she did, you're able to say, okay, well, I'm going to rewind it. In class, we're not able to do that. You can't stop me, rewind me, and then start over. So this allows the child to go back and rewind and rewatch. At any point in time, these videos will be accessible to them from the day I put them on there until pretty much the next school year. I do delete everything and kind of start over for the next 6th grade, but if it's something that you really are looking for and want to use, every single video that I upload goes to YouTube first. So those are accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I have yet to take one off in the however many years, 5, 6 years that I've been using this. Questions. This is the hard part. With questions, students have to get used to the idea of writing questions down, circling something in their notebook, emailing me. So as much as this is kind of a difficult concept, it actually opens up a lot more opportunities for students. Because we talked about how many times students are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to be embarrassed. They think, oh, this person doesn't need to ask, so I don't want to. What this will do is students can email me. Katie, I didn't understand how you got to number 3. I got this as an answer. Or can you go over another problem talking about equivalent ratios tomorrow in class? 9 times out of 10, I will not address in class the fact that I got an email from somebody. I will say something to the effect of, I got a couple of questions and somebody, a couple people said they wanted to go over equivalent ratios. This now gives the anonymity to the students who might have been afraid to ask the question or might be embarrassed about having asked the question. So I might not sit down and say, James asked me a question today, and then now I'm calling him out. I will keep it more anonymous. Or if it's something that I've seen that it's more so just something with your son or daughter, it gives me an opportunity to pull them aside and work with them individually during that class time. Again, we talked about pausing and rewinding, and I don't put this on there because this is something that it's hard to get students to understand when they should and should not use fast forward. You don't use fast forward just because you want to get to the end and say that you did it and now it's done. With fast forwarding, I talked to them today about there are going to be problems, and we might try to do, we might have one type of problem and we do it 1 or 2 or 3 times. Well, if I've done it once and we're doing another example and you're sitting there saying, I've got this, I understand, pause the video, try it by yourself. Fast forward, go to the answer. If your answer is correct, keep going. There's no need for you to sit there and listen to me talk for another 5 minutes if you've already got what's going on. But we also talked about if you didn't get that answer right, don't just go on and say, oh, well, at least did it. Go back and find your mistake. So now you've done the work, you've showed the work, and you can compare what you did to what I did and find that mistake. Now we're really getting into the deeper learning of finding the mistake and not just trying to do it correctly the first time. The other side of this, so the homework is now done in class. This is a beautiful thing. I told the kids today, I don't like, as much as it might seem like it, I don't like standing in front of the class and talking and I don't like it. I would much rather them be doing the work, them be practicing and asking questions and interacting and working with each other. I would much rather walk around, bounce around, get my steps in for the day, answering questions. It's much more fun for them, and it's much more fun for me, and it's much, much more effective. So when they come into class, they will have an opportunity where I will go over things that were gone over in the video. So it's not a matter of they come in and, oh, now they have to be masters. Absolutely not. When they come in, the expectation is just that they had background information given to them. They'll have problems that they're going to have to try on their own. They'll get answers when they come to class, and then we can go over those problems. Sometimes they'll come in and I'll have problems listed on the board for them to try that were based on the lesson from the night before. So there is still that interactive piece in class where we're reviewing what they did. It's just we're taking that 45-minute lecture and taking it and putting it at home, doing about 10-15 minutes of review in the beginning of class, and now they have the rest of that time to work and really dive into the material. It also allows me to really differentiate for your child. So like I said before, if I know that a student has asked me a question and it's been kind of along the lines of the same concept, now I know I want to touch base with him during class a couple more times because I know that he's been struggling. It lets me know that if they are struggling, maybe I need to give them a different set of problems to work with before we start diving into something else. Or on the flip side, she's understanding this 100%, gets it. Why don't we try and move her up a little bit? Let's challenge her. I never want a student to just sit and go through the motions. We want to get them where they're at. And whether that's way up here, right in the middle, or way down here, the flipped classroom allows me to do that. I don't want to teach to the middle. I want to be able to hit all those spectrums. And the other part, this is more so the added benefit to the students. We get to do more stations and activities. So the students aren't sitting in my classroom for 80 minutes. I can't imagine sitting for 80 minutes myself, so I don't want to do that to the kids. If you came in for the ribbon cutting ceremony or have been in here, you saw my classroom. I have probably, would you guys agree, the coolest seating in the school? Yeah, right? I have big exercise balls the kids can sit on. We have the ottomans, we have wobbly chairs, I have therabands that they can kick against, because it's 80 minutes and kids are squirmy, I'm squirmy. So I want to get them up and moving as often as I can. And not having to sit and take up such a huge chunk of class time allows me to do that, and it allows me to give them more time to work in that station. So what will this look like in our classroom? This is probably the most important part here. So the students will go home and they'll have a video lesson. 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear me, because I am a control freak. That is true about most math teachers. We like to have control, and I want them learning from me. I want them hearing the same vocabulary that they're going to hear at school on the video. Sometimes I might throw something else in there because I like the way somebody else explained it, and it's nice for them to hear somebody besides me at night or during the day. But the majority of the time they're going to hear from me, and they'll have notes that they will bring home. These notes are directly from our consumable textbooks. So we got new textbooks with the new curriculum. I do not give them the full textbook at once, because everything, it all can be ripped out. And I found that when I gave it all out at once last year, I can't tell you how many kids came to me and said, I lost my textbook, and I can't do anything about that. I can't replace it. Then they end up having to print the textbook from the online resource, and it's just a headache for everybody. Plus, the thing is like this thick, so if I can save a little bit of space in their locker and in their backpack, I want to try to do that. When they go home and they're doing the video, this is where I'm asking you as parents to really help me out at the beginning of the year. I don't expect, because I know I don't even have children that are this old yet. Mine are 4K and below, and it's craziness at our house. However, if you get the opportunity, and really at the beginning when they start to do these videos at home, make sure they're engaging with the video. A lot of times students will turn it on, and it'll be over here, and they'll be doing whatever over here, and oh, but I watched it. I copied down everything she said to copy down. Okay, great. That's not horrible, but I would much rather having them be engaged with it. So, stopping, pausing the video, trying problems on their own, rewinding. When there's a vocabulary term, pause. So let the vocabulary term, so I'll say the vocabulary term, give the definition, and give an example. Once that is done, pause. Then write it down. Not trying to write as we go. Because a lot of times when we try to write things as we go, we miss what's being said. So sitting back and watching, yes, I'm going to watch the video, I see what's going on, and then now I pause it and I copy everything down. Really making sure that the focus and the attention is on the lesson and not on another piece of homework that they have to do, a TV show, anything that we can do to help them understand that this isn't just going through the motions. I would greatly appreciate that. And that's going to definitely help them be more successful with this. If they don't do the video and they come to class, like I said, we'll have that review session, so they will get part of the lesson. And then they'll be working on it during class. So that time where they're working is going to be a little bit harder because they don't have that background information, but they're still going to get the opportunity to work through it, and it'll allow for me to catch their mistakes. But anything and everything we can do beforehand allows me to push them so much further and get them, again, to meet them where they're at. Bell ringer problems. Bell ringer is one of our buzzwords lately, so I figured I'd put it in here to look really smart. When they come in, there's going to be a couple of different things. Like I said, there will be problems on the board that they are going to work on, or there might be problems that they were given, and then they're going to have the answers to those problems and check them themselves, and then we'll go over those problems based on how they did. So if everybody got 100% on it, then I'm not going to spend 10 to 15 minutes going over it. I'm going to say, all right, let's jump into this and have some more station time. Or, you know what, everybody really struggled with this, let's take some extra time today and adjust, and maybe we don't do stations, and we just work through the problems in half a work day, just to get through it. So this allows a lot of variety in the lesson planning and in the class time itself. Okay, and then our in-class activities and the work that's based on the lesson. I showed the students today their notes. They'll have an interactive notebook. So what that means is when they come to class, one of their stations is going to have different activities for them that they will actually put into their notes. So they will, so one of the examples I gave them was they'll have a situation and it talks about the temperature. And then they have a thermometer and they have to color in what that temperature is, and then they take that situation and the thermometer and they glue it into their notebook. I know it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, why is that so great? Kids actually end up loving it because now we're cutting, we're coloring, we're not just sitting and doing nothing. So being able to do lessons like these really stems from being able to do the flipped classroom, because it gives us a lot more time during that class time. Now that we're on to Go Math, are there any questions on anything that I went over with the flipped classroom?
How long are your videos?
It depends. I try to keep them between like 15, 20 minutes. My biggest issue when I do the videos is I pause. Like I know a point where I want to pause because I want the kids to work on something. And then I'm like, oh wait, they can hit pause. I don't actually have to pause. So that gets it a little lengthy at times, but I really try to keep it between that 15 to 20. So it'll be taking them, and like I said, it shouldn't take them just 20 minutes. If it's taking the student just the exact amount of time that the video is, they're not engaging. I would say anywhere from, 25 if it's a really simple lesson, to maybe 30, maybe 35. And then if they are going over, like if we're all of a sudden getting onto something where we're going 40, 45 minutes, this is where as parents, I absolutely want you to let me know, you know what, she struggled on this, she was watching, rewatching, rewinding, shoot me that email, send me that note, because we don't want the student to get to the point where it's so frustrating, they're just sitting and going through it, and now an hour goes by, 2 hours goes by. Let me know, have them stop, and then I know that that's time where I need to work with them the next day. I do ask that the parents let me know, because sometimes we like to get away with things sometimes, and kids come in and they'll say, oh yeah, I didn't get it, and I was doing it for like an hour. As much as I would love to believe every child, I've learned, not only from my own, but from my experience, that I can't always do that. So that open communication between the two of us is greatly appreciated. And you know your son or daughter best. So you know when they're getting to the point of burnout and that they need to stop. And I appreciate that you're able to tell me that and let me know, because I'm obviously not at home. So do we have another?
Because in this textbook thing, so you're going to develop something and they're going to bring that home?
Yes.
It corresponds to the video?
It goes exactly with the video. So I actually went in and I took the book, because the book is online. I'm actually going to go over the actual textbook next. So the book is actually online, so I went in and I screenshotted parts from the book that look exactly like their notes. And that goes exactly with what they get from the pullout. Like the online version of the book is exactly the pullout that they're going to get from class. They match. The only thing that doesn't match is I've noticed the online sometimes has like a 4 and the book has a 5. I don't know why the numbers don't match. It boggles me. It's nothing that I can control, so I just tell the students whatever's in the lesson, like whatever's in the video, change the number and the problem in the book. But everything will match exactly to their textbook.
So what happens to the sections that they completed? Those get discarded? Do they keep those?
They will keep those. So they'll have binders in my classroom. I asked that everybody bring in a 1.5-inch binder, and they will keep the binders in my classroom. Once we're done with that module, they can put that module into that binder and it'll stay there. If they need it and they want to take it home to study for something or need help, by all means, take it.
I'm not worried about her, I'm worried about me. Wow. And I don't have a textbook to look at. That irritates the living crap out of me. They have a question, I don't have a textbook for them. And it drives me insane.
And this is the weird part with the textbook. So the consumable, what she brings home is all that we have for them. So we don't have like an actual physical hard textbook, it's just the consumable. It's just the pages that they can take notes in. So everything she has is what you would have if there was a hard textbook. That's the curriculum that the district
So where is
chose.
the content? Where is the content? I mean, what?
It's the lesson within, when I pull it up, this will make more sense. So it's in the lesson. So it's like, you know how in the textbook there are examples? They have examples in the notes. And then like the next one will have an example, but with missing parts. Does that kind of make sense? And then again, it's all available online. So anything that would be further, like I give them the whole module at once. So whatever's in module 2 isn't really going to help that much with module 1 because they all build on each other. So when we get to the textbook, make sure, like I just want to make sure that your question is answered. Other questions?
Well, I don't know. How able are you going to be to answer all the questions? Like, my case is my eldest son, so I'm sure they're going to have questions very well. Are you going to be able to answer all those emails?
Like all of your questions, or?
Maybe no problem, so you have a lot of time to answer questions. And all this all, and you know, the time here.
So like they're helping you as the parents. So with the question, we have 80 minutes in the class. So with doing the flipped classroom, it allows me to answer a lot more of their questions because we're not crunched for time because we're cramming that lecture part in there. So I'm able to get to them throughout the class, bounce around. I also have, I like to use student experts. Sometimes we have kids in the class that they just really get it. And sometimes it's nice just to be able to go to someone and say, hey, I just want to make sure I did this correctly, and they can go to the student expert and ask if I'm working with another student. We've talked about making sure that they go over so you have your notes, you have your group mates, and you also have me. So they have a lot of resources, and I mean, it's not plausible to think that I'm always going to get to 100% of everybody's questions in that 80 minutes. That's why we have that silent reading time and that home group time, for them to come down and get more help. And then usually, I am here after school. I'm not sure what that schedule is going to be just yet. I have to set that up with our principal, but I know that, unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, I coach in the fall. I coach boys volleyball at St. Cat's. So I cannot stay after school during the first quarter. So I really try to make sure that students know that I'm available during silent reading. I have kids at events, you know, they come in during lunch. I try to make myself as available as I can to make sure that they do get their questions asked and answered and they do get that help.
Will they have a video every night?
No. Right now, what it's looking like is on Fridays, that'll be more of a Compass catch-up day is kind of my goal. I just have to make sure that it works out with the pacing with the new curriculum. Sometimes they'll have one that might be a little bit longer because I know that the lesson's going to stretch out over 2 class periods. So when you see one that's getting up there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so long, you can pretty much assume that the next night, they're not going to have that because we're working again the next day in class. Yes.
There is one that.
So, in theory, the children are writing in their planner and bringing their planner home and showing it to you, and you're signing it, and we're signing it, right? That's really going to happen. I use the Google Classroom with the students. So I post their assignments on there so that they know when things are coming due, they know what the assignment was. I can attach your email addresses, so you'll get an invitation from me within probably the next week. Once classes are set, you'll get an invitation that'll come from, I believe it comes from the Google Classroom, and it says, Katie Belangi has invited you to be a part of, the 6B math class. That will send you notifications of when stuff is due or if. The hard part is, When we use the Google Classroom, students can mark their stuff turned in or not turned in. So if they forget to click turned in, it'll show up on your feed as they didn't do it. Or they click turned in and they didn't actually visibly turn it in. But I will have it up there to show you when things are due. Another way, I use the Remind app, so I know that Kurt sent out that, or we all sent out that letter to you. I use that app as well, and I try to kind of keep everybody up to date with things that are going on when there are lessons. We're also trying to put together a newsletter that'll go out weekly, that'll kind of let you know like what's going on for the next week. So my goal is to say, okay, these are the 2 to 3 videos that need to be watched this week by 6th grade, and this is what needs to be watched by 7th grade. With the understanding that if they're struggling with something, we might not get to that lesson, or if they did really well, we might have moved along from it. So just know that there might be that flexibility in there based on how they're doing. I just realized I'm doing a horrible job of repeating the question with my microphone. So I apologize to everybody that's listening to this. Right. Any other questions? If you have any questions that go back to the flipped classroom or concerns, or you're unsure about something, please don't hesitate to ask, even though we've gone on to other terms. All right, so Go Math, what is it? Ah, that's right. So with Go Math, your son or daughter will be, here we go. There we go. When they log on to the Chromebooks here at school, it's awesome because they log in and now they're logged into everything. Now this is my teacher account. So they won't see Infinite Campus and the print shop. Oh my goodness, not the print shop. But they will see Compass Learning, their Gmail, Google Apps, and they just click on that icon and it takes them to everything and it already has them signed in. So no more, oh my gosh, I have to remember my name and password for this, and then I have to sign in here. Nope, you sign in once, and then you're signed into everything. So at home, what this will look like is they will go to rusd.org, and then they will click on this Online Technology tab down at the bottom right-hand corner. And for me, since I'm already logged in, it's going to actually pop up with my information. So I'm going to go to a different screen here. There we go. And so now it's taking me to a login page. And the student can type in their S number and their 1718 password, and now they're logged in to everything. I'm actually going to, so their S number is their student ID number with an S in front of it. They might be used to using this from elementary school. I'm not sure how often they use it, but this is their username and password for pretty much everything within the district. And then the password is 1718. The first 3 letters of their birth month, but the first letter has to be capitalized. And then the date. So if my birthday is May 8th, it's capital M-A-Y and then 08.
All capitals on M-A-Y?
Just the first letter is capitalized. Yep. Ah, yes. This is what it pays to remember people's information. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So, is she already set up with this, or is it something?
This is all set up through the district.
Oh, so like it's already set up here?
Absolutely.
I was writing down thinking I was going to go home tonight too. So.
No. So this is when they're logging in and they're trying to get to their Go Math account, they will go through this way. They won't have to set anything up. This is just how they have to get to it from home. Okay. The only thing, so like right now, this is actually a former student of mine, and so I kind of set up the stuff to work already. They will not have this, so like if you go home and try this tonight, the My HRW, which is the Go Math textbook, will not be there. In class on Friday, we will be taking it and they actually have to go here to this plus sign and then search for the app and then add it to their homepage. I will be doing that with them in class. That's not something that you have to go and do at home. We're going to do that, make sure that it gets there. Once it's there, we don't have to mess with it anymore. So we're going to make sure that that's done before they leave on Friday. All right. Now where's my glass? There it is. All right, so you are going to see the teacher version here. So yours will look a little bit different. Mine has the assignments, so I can see all the assignments for the students. I can pull reports and all this fun stuff. But up here, you'll see that it says, I'll pull this down, it says Go Math Middle School 6th grade. That is the book that we are working in. I believe right now 6th graders have access to the 6th and 7th grade book. So make sure that you're always going in and that you're on the correct book. That's probably the biggest mistake that students have made so far, is that they go in and they do a lesson and they're like, this doesn't match. That's right, it doesn't match either the 7th grade and the 6th grade. So if you look at it and it doesn't match at all, double check that you're on the correct book. It should default to the grade that you are in though. So then when they go in, so this is where the textbook comes in. So they have an interactive student edition. So now, here's their first module. They have all the units on the side. So all the different units are here. And then the different modules within the unit. So our first module will be integers. And then you can choose which lesson you're working on. Now this that we're looking at right now is the interactive student edition. So when I pull it up, it's going to load and the lady is actually going to talk to me and tell me she's going to read the essential question. There's a video that can be played and then they go to the next piece. And they actually, so it talks them through pieces of the notes and then they interact with it. I know you can't hear it right now. If I turn it on, there's going to be horrible feedback. So I'm not going to turn that on, but like now here it's talking about positive numbers and it asks them to click on positive numbers. Oh, those are positive numbers. That is a resource that the students can use on their own. So if they're struggling, they're like, I just want to go back and do something different. I need to hear it a different way. Absolutely go in and use that. Last year when I had the students just using the interactive student edition, so I started to use that and not use my own videos, their biggest complaint was, you gave us more of an explanation. I understood it better. You went into more detail. This just kind of told me and took me through the steps. So when a student tells me that, and several students tell me that, I'm not going to say, oh, well that's awful. I'm absolutely going to take that step, and then I'm going to do this for you, and then this is just going to be an added resource. For the book itself, so now if I go back in here, this is actually going to be so if I click on Student Edition, this is the actual book itself. Okay, so if I go to Contents and I decide that I want to just go directly to Module 1, Lesson 1, this is exactly what's in the student's book. So this is the page that I said I ripped them out and this becomes their notes. This is it. This is our textbook. This is their notes. So it has an example up at the top and it goes through what are positive numbers, what are negative numbers. I will be going through and talking about that in the video. I don't just go read and understand. Okay, I dive into that a little bit more. We put the vocabulary terms into our vocabulary notebook, do examples, and then the next one is they actually start to answer questions. So if we were to actually take and give you a physical copy of this book, this is what it would be. So it's going to be missing those parts. It's different from textbooks the way that we knew them, where it was all the information and then problems afterwards. It's more interactive. So as they go through, there are problems here, so then we reflect and talk about what are we getting from the lesson? Not just can we do it, here's the problems, what are the answers? Starting to think about what we're doing and how we're going to apply that. Does that kind of answer some of your questions? Okay. I didn't know the best way to explain what I was trying to say, so I figured this might help. With GoMath, there are also a lot of tutorials. So you can go in and there are tons of tools where the students can go in. So now here's another way to go in and they can just click, say, all right, I want module 1. It'll take a while to get there. These are just the PDFs of module 1. So let's say that the student lost their notes. Can absolutely, I told them this, I said, you know what, if you lost your notes and you came in and said, Katie, I lost them, oh my goodness. I printed them though. I printed them, I just don't have lessons 1 and 2, but I printed number 3 and I did it. Great. There is no reason why, I mean, I would be a little bit bummed for you because now you lost notes for 1 and 2, but you're always able to go back and get those from a friend and get them back into your notebook. So they always have access to them. So even if they say, oh, I didn't bring my notes home, I forgot. Yeah, not anymore. As long as you have internet access, you have your notes. I know kids are so happy right now. And then in that interactive student edition, there are tutorial parts, so I want to try to find a good example of it. There's a guy on here that a lot of the kids know. He's got glasses and curly hair, and he goes over some of the problems. So like, let's say they watch an example and they just like, I just don't get it. You click on the tutorial and he starts talking about a whole nother problem. So there's another resource for them to get some more help. Okay? Here we go. So when you see this little button at the top that says math on the spot, if I click on it, now up pops a video, and see, curly hair, glasses, and he starts talking. He's really kind of quirky, but he's good. He knows what he's talking about, he knows what he's doing, and does a really good job of breaking it down for students. So they have that resource as well. All of that is accessible to them through their online textbook. Any questions about the online textbook? Yes?
Is that tutorial on every one of these?
I don't think it's on every single one. I haven't noticed. I think it's on the majority, but I think there are a few where
I
it's
was
just...
just thinking that sometimes, I'm just thinking like for myself, for learning, for anybody as a whole, sometimes where I think when you're sitting there looking at things, when you hear things verbally, sometimes you're sitting there looking at it, and then you can get the tutorial to hear it verbally instead of visually. Sometimes that can kind of put it in place for you. So I think that's so intelligent to have that.
Absolutely. And the interactive student lesson, this is also a great part because now the students are actually able to click and type in, and it's a little bit more kinesthetic. So I will say I am comfortable with if a student is having success in doing the interactive student lesson and is able to come to class and know what's going on and they choose to do that as opposed to my video, I'm not going to tell a student that they can't do that. I might say, hey, can you make sure to check in at minute number 5? I go over something kind of important that I want to make sure you have. But other than that, I want them to use what's going to work, what's clicking with them.
I have a question. Yes. Love the online text, love the tutorials that you were saying. Sometimes the text can be rather challenging to read, especially the terms. Does the textbook have the ability to be read to students? Is there anything like
Yes, it does. I'm so glad you asked that. So down here, I have my volume button, and it has closed captioning. Oh, duh, I should have turned on the closed captioning and showed you guys that. It has closed captioning, and it reads it out loud. So it can be read to them. It can be closed captioning could be there with or without the reading. You can turn the person off and just kind of read. You have all of those options. Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. I am not 100% 100% sure on that. Last year, students tried it and it worked. It was kind of spotty. This is a brand new curriculum for us, so how well it works on different devices is not 100% known yet. So if you would try that and report back to me, that would be awesome. Because I know I've had kids that hop on the bus and they have a nice long bus ride home, and I have kids that do their lessons on their phones on the way home. Well, that's a wise use of your time, and I can always tell because then they get there and I see their handwriting, and all of a sudden it's like the pencil goes up the page. All right. Yes.
How much time would you say that you're spending on a weekly basis on it?
So on the textbook or
Video?
the videos are going to be the most where they're online. When they're in class, sometimes I'll use the online lessons because it's easier to get a quick gauge of where they're at because I get immediate responses. The majority of the time they're going to be doing pencil and paper work in class.
I mean at home. How much
At
time
home?
do
At
you
home?
expect it to be on the internet?
No, this is like this online stuff, this textbook stuff, this will mostly be done, anything that they do like assignment-wise will be done in class. This is extra. This is, if they're struggling with it, they can go to it. This is not on top of the lesson. This is, oh my gosh, this lesson is horrible, so you know what, maybe I am going to be on this and spreading over 2 days and doing an hour of work. But it's all here for me to be able to do that. Compass learning. You are going to find that you will say, have you done your compass more than you ever thought you would ever? Compass learning is a resource that the district uses and it connects with the child's math scores. So if they are if they are low in geometry but really high in statistics and probability, their geometry folder is at their level, at that lower level, and their statistics and probability folder is up at that higher level. It literally meets the students right where they are at. When they take the math test, so we'll take the math test about mid-September, it'll take I've seen it take a week, I've seen it take 2 days. But it'll take a little bit of time, and then the district resets their folders to go with what their current math score is. And it actually goes over the things that they are struggling with in those strands. So if all of a sudden they come back and say, oh my gosh, I've done this lesson, this stinks, I don't want to do it again, and you know that we just took a math test, you know that they didn't have the success on it on the math test, so they're seeing it again because they weren't able to be successful on it. When they do compass, they will get a tracker from me that shows what their next lessons are because it's very important that when you're using compass, that they use it and do it in the order that it was intended. Students like to bounce around and do the easiest parts or the most fun activities. It's beneficial, but it's not as beneficial as it could be. So I will give them a tracker and it says what lesson they're on, and it says what day am I doing it, what was my score. If their score is less than 70%, Compass makes them redo that lesson again. Then they'll tell me what day they redid it and what their redo score was. If they don't pass it a second time, it will allow them to go on to the next lesson. That's just something that I will see them and say, okay, this is something that we need to touch base on and take a look at.
So you'll work with the child one-on-one?
Yes, so we'll have days where we'll conference and we'll talk about map goals and what they're doing with their Compass learning. So like those Fridays are where I really want to take and work on conferencing with the students and okay, this is what we're doing in class, yes, but you're also struggling with this piece here based on what I saw from map and from Compass.
Do the lessons encompass, I know you mentioned the curriculum is new, so you may not know the answer, but do the lessons encompass correlate to what they're learning in class?
They do not. So I know that that sounds really frustrating, and I get that, but with math, one of the things that we've noticed a lot is that we see it, we do it, we move on to the next chapter, and chapter 1 is whoop. So what I love about Compass is that sometimes it will be stuff that we're doing in class. It does match up every so often. However, a lot of the time you'll find that we will be working on, you will hear about ratios and proportions so much this year. I'm just going to apologize right now for that. But we could be working on ratios and proportions, and they're talking about statistics and probability. They're talking about geometry and area. So it really allows them to not let go of something, not forget about those pieces. It allows us to touch on all of those content, not content areas, but all of those strand areas. So I guess the short and simple answer would be no. All right, so when they log in, you'll see this screen. It says Compass Learning. At the bottom, we have to make sure that it says RUSD. It will say Odyssey. It needs to say RUSD in order for them to actually be able to log in. With the new system, they should be able to get in and they'll be logged in and it's all set and ready to go. Just in case, their username and password is their S number and that 1718 password. Again, same thing as for everything else. You can also go in. Now you have to have their information to be able to do so, but as long as you know their birthday, which I guess the majority of us do, as long as you know their birthday and remember their ID number, you can log in as them and take a look at their information. You can pull attendance reports to see how often they've actually gone on it and see what they've done. You can pull completion reports to see what they've done. I can have completion reports emailed to you, so I know that last year we had a handful of students that weren't really keeping up with it, and the parents said, I'd really like to know and see what they're doing, but I don't have time to go on and pull the report and look and whatever. I can set it up to have it pulled, and every Monday it'll show up in your email, and it'll show you what they've done for the week, what their scores were. If you want that, by all means, let me know, and I will get that set up for you, and I'll let you know, okay, so we're doing this the first week. If you don't get it, let me know, because I probably typed in your email address incorrectly. But if you want that, that is absolutely something that is available to you. If you want to be able to go in and look yourself, you have that option as well. So when they get in, their screen will look like this. And we do use this for reading and language arts. I'm not going to speak to that because I don't 100% know how they're using it. They're trying to get their minutes in their classroom. But for me, they're going to go to the math. It's the light green. Once they go to that, you'll see that they have these folders. And this is where I'm talking about the hopping around and doing what they feel like. The first folder that you see on the far left, that is their lowest folder. That's their lowest grit score. So for this student, their lowest grit score was in operations and algebraic thinking. We want them working in that folder first and then making their way to the right. When they click on this folder and open it, you will see a lot of lessons. And at the top, there will be a check mark if they finished it, and there will be a little asterisk for whichever one is next. And it will not allow them to go ahead, so you have to finish one to go to the next. So as I mentioned, the benefits of it literally meet students where they're at, whether that's higher or lower. So, and it meets them where they're at on different parts of the spectrum. So with operations and algebraic thinking, if they're high, it gives them that high folder. And if they're low in geometry, it gives them that low folder. It works on various concepts. Oh, I did a really good job covering this without my notes. Okay, and it adjusts with their map scores. Any questions on compass learning? So the requirement is five to six lessons a week. So I do check it weekly and put it in the grade book weekly. Now let's say that they went through and they did 4 lessons this week, but the next week they did 7. Well, then I keep the 4 in there, and then I put 7 so it acts as like extra credit, but that extra credit cancels out the missing credit. This will be done at home, and it'll be done in school. So they'll have time to work on it during silent reading, They'll have time to work on it. Not every day in math. Like I said, those Fridays, it sounds, are gonna be kind of like our conferencing and compass days. And then at home. Yes?
I guess, just as a parent, I'm assuming that it's going to be clearly communicated to us what is expected of us at home for that particular day. You know, if they're, because it may be on a Tuesday, they don't have anything to do at home, right? But then on Wednesday, maybe they need to watch a video.
Yeah, so that'll be, so with compass, I tell the students, every day you have compass for them. Every day. Yeah, like if you can go home and do one lesson, because lessons are about 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then there's a quiz afterwards that's about 5. That counts as 2 activities.
Okay.
So right there, you get those 2 things done, you've got 2 lessons out of the 5 for the week. I have students that have said, I'm just gonna sit down, I'm gonna do 7 lessons on Sunday. If that's what you wanna do, go right ahead. I have other students that go home and they just do 1 a night so they can stay on top of it. I have kids that will come in and they'll say, I'm just gonna do it during silent reading, and they get a couple done in silent reading. The next day they actually silently read, and then the next day they do reading compass. It all just kind of depends on what's going to work with your schedule. This has been around. This is our 3rd year of using it at the middle school. I know it's been in the elementary school for a couple of years, but this is the 3rd year at the middle school. And I am going to put a little caveat in that. There is another program called ALEKS, A-L-E-K-S, that they are piloting and that they are considering going to. So when that happens, please don't shoot me. I swear, if I could have it just change and be like right now, I would change it and do it right now, whatever that, like, I have to stick with what they want me to do. I have seen the benefits with this though, ladies and gentlemen. It's amazing what kids have been able to do because they're seeing so much. There's a marked difference between those who keep up with their compass and do it and those that do not. The change in their math scores and their understanding has been just phenomenal. There's a reason that our math scores and our performance levels for math at the real school have been so good, and it's been because of the way that we've taken this curriculum and really made it into something that will work for these students. And Compass and the flipped classroom are a huge part of that. And I know you're going to hear Compass as a curse word for so long. I have to do Compass. And you know, when we talk about not everything that we get to do is fun, I'm sorry if I could make it more fun and make it not so childish. I would. I just don't have that access.
Compass is not something you need to career. Compass is where you find.
Correct.
So if they do their 20 minutes in Compass or their time and they're for the evening, or why have to check for every night? Say like engineering side or engineering compass.
For the start, I honestly would just check with her on a daily basis to say, how are you doing with compass? Did you do your compass? And like I said, I can set it up and have that email sent to you. So if she says, yep, I did 5 lessons this week, and all of a sudden you get an email that says she's done nothing, then that allows you to have that conversation with her.
I fill out, I received the email from you already, I fill out their, I forget what all about it. You got a section in there where it says text messages.
Yep.
I put my phone in there, and I make sure and stuff like that. So does that mean where it says information, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm signing up for it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for doing that on my end as well. Yeah, perfect. I will say you're going to hear your children talk about other schools and talking about that the other schools, they do it. They do it a little bit. They don't do it to fidelity. They don't do it to fidelity because of the fact that they know that the district is going to change it. We do it to fidelity. And we do it to fidelity because we know the benefits that it has. We've seen the results that are produced. We want to help make your child better at math. And this is just another tool for us to do that. I'm going to quickly go over standards-based grading and learning because it is, had you here for an hour and I feel bad. With the standards-based grading and learning, lessons and assessments are set up by standard. So you have the different standards, and they'll get graded based on that standard. So they have different levels. They have a 4. A 4 is advanced. That means they've gone above and beyond. Not only have they understood it, but they've applied it or they've done something else with it. A 3 is proficient. Proficient meaning they're exactly where we want them to be, they understand it, they're doing what they need to do, life is good. 2 is the developing, means they're understanding it, they're just not quite there yet. And 1 is basic, meaning they know the word, but they might not know much more than that. Okay, and then the grade, their overall grade is based on their level of proficiency. Again, I'm not sure how this is going to look in the grade book. I will be as open with this communication and with this grade book process as I possibly can be with you as I'm learning it. I will let the kids know, and I will do my best to get that information out to you in the most uncomplicated way that I can figure out. Our goal. So our goal here at Real School is to raise the level of ability and understanding of all students in terms of math. Okay, I should say in everything, but for me, definitely with math. Not only do we want to do that, we want to help students become problem solvers and critical thinkers. So really, when there's a lot of struggle, just remember, this is what we're working towards. We're working towards, can you problem solve? Can we put a problem in front of you and have you dissect it, get that information out, and be successful with it? Can you apply what you've learned, not just sit back and answer from a formula? Okay? And then to apply concepts, not just sit back formulas and answers. This is the goal that we have for your child. We want them to be able to use it, not just go through the motions and get an A. We want them to be able to take this on in life and use it from here on out. Because like I said, I can justify all that we're going to learn, and I will justify it to them. There are some things where I will tell them, you know what, I have to teach you this, and we're just going to buckle down and go through it. I'll be as honest as I absolutely can be with the kids. Sometimes there's things that are just like, really, I've never used this, but hey, you're going to know it, and maybe one day in trivia, you'll include them those points because you know it, who knows. But with that, that's all that I have for you. Are there any other questions? Yes.
I don't have crossing out. I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time and explaining to us and communicating with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That's the first time I've been here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or call the school. I will get the reminder information out for you. Please let me know if you have questions. Thank you so much for coming.
Steady years. I don't see her advancing as much. Yeah. I think the interest level is gone down. Yeah.
That happened for us.
You know, 6th grade.
There's a lot. This is a lot. Yeah, it's a lot to take on.
So hopefully,
Maybe tennis or something?
Yeah. No, I don't know. She loves soccer though.
You're gonna stay here for where's your home school? Home high school.
That would be hard.
Because he could still end up playing soccer for Melitas. I like Melitas and I like Mr. Pedger. They'll still do there. She is in high school at Park, so not bad. Don't give up on it forever. Alright, ladies, take it easy.
We're gonna go back to soccer.
Absolutely. And then I'll send you the form and as long as you give me your number, I'll send you text messages over my phone.
Good evening.
What's her